Welcome to Journey to Wholeness, hosted by author and life coach Indiana Tuggle, where we help Christian women heal, achieve mental wellness, and spiritual growth so you can accomplish your goals and purpose.
I am excited because May is mental health awareness month, and I am excited about this topic because regardless of where you are in your wellness journey, it begins, continues, and ends with mindset and your mental well-being. So tonight I have LaTerra Wise joining me, and LaTerra is the host of the Hey There Overcomer podcast, and she is the author of the Art of Transformation book, and we both have a book using that acronym, so we're going to get into that. Before we get into the overcomer mindset, I want to begin with LaTerra sharing her testimony and also her early experience in how nearly not being born has shaped her sense of purpose. So let's get into it, girl.
Yes. Hey. So first of all, thank you so much for having me. Um, it's a little different being on this side of the screen, right? But I'm so excited to be here, and I'm so glad to be having this conversation around mental health because it's something that's not always talked about a lot, especially in Black households. It's becoming a little more embraced, but it's it's an honor to add to that conversation every single time we get to do it. So. Yeah, my story almost ended before it started, basically. My parents were young. My mom was 17, my dad was 19 when they found out they were pregnant with me, and I wasn't in the plans. And so, making a hard decision, they decided that they were going to terminate the pregnancy. However, when my mom went to have the procedure done, it was too late, and here I am.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, knowing that story from my mom actually was redemption for me because I had gone through the same thing, except I actually went through with the procedure. And so I dealt with the guilt from that for years. And then I heard her story, and it set me free in a couple of different ways. It let me know that there was a purpose for my life, and it also let me know that God redeems. And um, so I didn't grow up with that knowledge. I just grew up knowing that my dad wasn't there
Mm-hmm.
and wondering why I wasn't good enough and all the things that come with that. And so it it absolutely shaped the way that I saw myself, and it shaped the way that I saw God. It shaped the way that I entered into relationships, and um it shaped my mental health, like feeling like you're not wanted and you're not loved enough or worthy. And I had plenty of other people who loved me and were there for me, my mom, my grandparents. Like I was a very happy, spoiled child. So it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't any of that. But there was this yearning for a piece of me that I didn't have. And as I got older and grew into an adult, I realized, that that missing piece is not found in any person. It's
Mm-hmm.
found in God. So that shaped my journey of helping people get to the place of worthiness in God, not in anything else, but understanding that the things that they go through, the circumstances that they've survived, that all of it God uses. And we are worthy just because He says we are. So, yeah,
Absolutely.
that's the short version of the journey.
Absolutely. I can definitely relate to that journey of yearning, that journey of finding your worth, that journey of recognizing that it is in God, that it can't be found in somebody else. Now we both have books on using that ART acronym. And
Yes.
ironically, it is the same. It means the same, that acknowledgement, that release, and that transformation.
Hmm.
Start to walk us through what that looks like in real life.
So yeah, that acronym I was listening to Lisa Nichols one day at work, and it was just she was doing an interview, and was it wasn't even anything deep or profound. It was just a sentence that she said that had the word overcoming in it. And God just downloaded a whole book. And so the acronym, the art, for me, the art of overcoming is acknowledgement, release, transformation. Like you said, nothing changes if we don't acknowledge where we are. So all transformation begins with understanding where you are right now, understanding how what you've been through has shaped you, and acknowledging that you're not okay
Mhm.
and that it's okay to not be okay. In the book, I talk about going from victim to survivor to overcomer. And sometimes we don't want to call ourselves a victim. We don't want to acknowledge that we're in that place of victimhood.
Mhm.
But if we don't acknowledge that we're in that place, then we're not going to take steps to get out of it. So the acknowledgement is what allows, it's like it's what takes the blinders off,
Mhm.
because now you know where you are, you know what you're dealing with, and you know that something needs to change.
Mhm.
And so then you move to release. And release is hard. That's
Mhm.
that's the hard phase. That's where all the work comes in, the forgiveness, the um, hard conversations, the letting go
Mhm.
and not letting it affect us. That's where all of that comes from in the release. And that starts with forgiveness,
Mhm.
with not only forgiving the people who hurt you, but forgiving yourself. Because a lot of times when we go through trauma, we take on the guilt and the shame, and we think about what we did or what we could have done differently. When I was sexually assaulted as a teenager, that was the thing that kept me from telling anybody, because the thought that was in my head was, how could I be so stupid and let this happen to me?
Mhm.
So I had to forgive myself for my perceived inability to see the danger that I was in, and for all of the shame and guilt that I carried around it. So forgiveness begins and ends with you, because
Mhm.
you may never get that apology. You may never get that acknowledgement. Even if you have that conversation, you and that person see things two different ways. You can see the same situation, same truth, and have two very different viewpoints. So you have to release the idea that you need them to heal.
Mhm.
And then once you release it, God transforms what you've been through into something beautiful. That is where the purpose and the gifts start to come. When we take our brokenness and the shame is gone, and the guilt is gone, and the anger is gone, then we can speak about it and we can share our truth. The word tells us we overcome by the blood of the lamb and the word of our testimony. Our testimony is healing and freedom for someone else. And so as we share it, we not only continue to transform ourselves and continue to step deeper in our healing, but we open that door for someone else to do the same. So yeah, that process sounds simple. Like, you think a three word process of sound is like, oh, it's that easy. But there's some
Mm-mm.
work in there in those steps that you got to do. It's not easy, but it is absolutely worth it.
It really truly is, and mine is It's a forgiveness journey, and when I tell you it's the exact same steps, it's the exact same steps. And I'm sitting up here shaking my head because God is so awesome. Because I call mine acknowledge the pain. Because like you said, you have to acknowledge where you are. You have to release, you have to let go. And then you have to begin to transform your mind. And in that transformation stage, you have to begin to embrace a new perspective so you can move forward with a new mindset and embrace that new beginning of what's coming, right? um and also you have to begin to allow God to direct your paths and direct your steps, because we tend to filter everything through our pain. We tend
Yes.
to filter our thoughts, our behaviors through everything that happened to us, and we do
Mhm.
it unintentionally. you know
Right.
um and so we have to allow the Holy Spirit to guide us with his wisdom. And sometimes that means surrendering and allowing and acknowledging that we don't know, right?
Right.
And
And it's okay
part
to
of
say,
that,
I don't know.
right? And part of that for me was just saying, acknowledging that I am allowing this brokenness to control my thoughts, right?
Yes.
Because in saying that, Indiana, this is not real, that's not true. you know this
Hmm.
is not what God would have you to do. This is not. It's a possibility that what you're feeling in this moment, what they said, is not what they meant.
Right.
It's just how you're processing it. You're processing it from a place of brokenness. They are not the last person that hurt you, or they are not like this person that hurt you years ago. They didn't
Yes.
mean it, or maybe they did mean it, but it wasn't with the same callous intent that someone
Hmm.
else. So we have to, have those conversations even with self, to
Yes.
say that, and that's okay. A lot we don't like to admit that we're broken, right? So,
Mm-mm.
um, what mindset shifts did you have to make to stop looking outward for your healing, to even begin your own inner work?
Pretty much that. Just acknowledging that everyone is not out to get me, that
Mm,
everyone is not going to hurt me, that I am in control of what I allow into my space. I think that's probably one of the biggest mindset shifts that I've had, that has been the key to freedom, is that I get to control
mhm,
what happens to me. I get to control my reactions. I can't control what you do.
mhm,
But if you do something and you repeatedly do things that I don't like, and I've told you I don't like, I can set a boundary and I can change the relationship to protect myself, that it's okay to protect myself. With This is one of the other things um, that I talk about a lot, is that we guard ourselves with gates and not walls,
mm,
because walls keep everything out.
mhm,
Gates, we get to decide who comes in and who goes out. So our boundaries create that gate and allow us. Uh, Lord, my mind. Yeah. Okay. You talked about perimenopause earlier in a post. Do you have this perimenopause like brain fog where you are just in the middle of a sentence and it just completely goes away?
yes, ma'am. That's why I walk around with pen and paper, because I have to write stuff down because I will forget.
Chris, I don't know. Nobody prepared me for this. But we have the authority. We have the authority in our lives because God has given us that authority. And one of the other shifts was that my worth is not found in anybody else.
Mhm,
It's found in God because He created me. I don't have to do anything to earn it. I don't have to do anything to be in that position of feeling loved and worthy. I am, because God created me, because he saw that there was a need for me in this earth. God has never created anything that he didn't have need of or didn't have a plan for. So my worth was born. It's ingrained in my DNA.
Mm-hmm.
So it's shifting the narrative of, I'm waiting on you. I'm waiting on somebody else to do something for me. Nobody is coming to save you.
Mm.
And that's one of the hard shifts and the hard
Mm-hmm.
truths. Nobody is coming to do the work for you.
Mm-mm.
When you stop being a victim and stop looking for somebody to come and just fix it and make it all better, because God's not even going to do that. If you don't acknowledge where you are, you have to invite him in.
Mm-hmm.
So when you recognize that and recognize that you have to be the lead in your healing journey, then God releases the resources and he releases the guides and he releases everything that you need to heal.
Mm.
But it
One of
starts
my
with knowing where you are. It starts with taking ownership of your
mm,
life and your healing and your journey.
absolutely one of my biggest mind shift shifts. That's a tongue twister. One
Hmm.
of my biggest ones was that one was nobody's going to push you past your excuses but you, um,
Mm,
which ties into what you said. Nobody's coming to save you. And for me, that was huge because we always tend to look for help. Like you mentioned, we look for help, somebody to come and take the journey with us. Like we always
hmm.
want support. Even now
Yeah.
we tend, and it's nothing wrong with that in a sense because two are better than one. The Bible even tells
Yes.
us that, it's two can put 10,000 to flight, and things like that. So we are better together,
Mhm.
but sometimes you have to be a self motivator, right?
Yeah.
And then another thing that was helpful to me was learning that, um, and I just forgot it too with me, is that I cannot continue to wait for tomorrow. I could not continue to procrastinate, right?
Hmm.
And if I continue to procrastinate and continue to put things off on the back burner, it was nobody's fault but my own that God didn't show up for me,
Mm,
right? Because each time that I procrastinated, I was delaying my own blessing. I was no
hmm.
longer waiting on God now,
Right.
because if I didn't even have the audacity to do what I knew to do, how
Hmm.
could I now be mad at God for not doing what he was supposed to do?
Right. Yeah. Our steps, our everything begins with us. He
Hmm.
gives us the choice. He gives us the free will, and it's on us to walk in it, to
Hmm.
take the step to go deeper and
Right.
ask more questions. Okay, God, I'm gonna take the first step,
Hmm.
knowing that I don't know the rest of it, but I trust that when I take this first step, you'll meet me there with the next one.
Hmm.
That's hard. It's hard when you haven't learned to trust. And that's one of the things that I had to unravel um, in my relationship with my father and my relationship with God. Because the struggle for me was, everybody says God is your father.
Mm.
When we talk about God, it's always in relation to God as our father. So if I don't have a relationship with my father, if I feel like I have to earn my earthly father's love, then I feel like I have to earn God's love. And if I feel like I can't talk to my earthly father, then I can't talk to God without him judging me, without him condemning me. And so that is one of the other things that had to be unraveled for me to be able to go to God and say, God, and actually have a conversation with God and be real. Because yes, God knows our thoughts, He knows our hearts, but we have to articulate that in a safe space. And God is a safe space where we can say, Lord, I'm hurting. When my grandfather died, I was like, God, I'm mad. Like, I don't understand why you did this. Like, what are we doing?
Mm-hmm.
God can handle our emotions, He can handle our feelings. We don't have to suppress that. And I think a lot of times we get into depression and get into that place of anxiety because we're trying to figure it all out because we feel like we can't go to God and be honest and real with God. And if I can't be honest and real with God, then I can't be honest and real with the people around me. So I'm just on my own.
Mm.
So then we are in the place of feeling like we have to do everything and we have to take on everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just not reality.
It's not.
God is there waiting for us to come to Him, to be open and vulnerable with Him, and to just take that step of obedience. Like you said, He's waiting on us. We're not waiting on Him, He's waiting on us. So we have to get past ourselves and get over those barriers, knowing that He's got us no matter what.
No matter what. Listen, that was the most freeing aspect of my healing journey, was knowing that God could handle my emotions. Because
Mhm.
I used to suppress some stuff. I used to have some real live screaming, throwing stuff, especially in writing. Baby, I done broke a couple of laptops, just throwing stuff across the
Mm.
room, broke some, just because I was literally taken back to the place of the pain.
Mhm.
I done had some, Lord, where were you? If you always with me, where was you when this happened? you
Yes.
know,
Yes.
when such and such happened, you brought me here. So what was you when all this happened?
Mhm.
And such and this, it was some real down come to Jesus moments, with Jesus, you know,
Yes.
and
Yes.
just crying, boohoo, crying, yelling, screaming, going, it was going down. And at the end of the day, just sitting there and and really, like, literally feeling the presence of God, like, wrapped around
Mhm.
you, that hug, you know,
Mhm.
just falling to sleep in that deep sleep, just in the
Yes.
presence of God. And I c there's no way to physically describe it,
Mhm.
other than when you first feel with the Holy Spirit for the first time with the evidence of speaking in tongues, like, God just becomes so real in that
Mhm.
moment. And it's a moment that it's kind of like a high, like they describe when you, I don't want to use drugs, but that's the first thing I like, it's like one of those highs that you always try to get back, you know.
Mhm.
And it's like, you can't, from that moment on, you can't ever convince me that God's not real, ever
Mm.
again. I know too
Mm-mm.
much about Him now, um to ever make me go back, you know. But let's get into, most people think that healing is a destination, but we've talked
Mm.
about it. But we both know that healing is just the beginning.
It
So
is.
what does life look like after healing?
I don't think there is an after healing.
There isn't.
I think that we are always healing.
Mhm,
There are always pieces and parts of us that are in um in process.
mhm,
So there is no after healing, but there is a healed lifestyle.
mhm,
A healing lifestyle is understanding that there is no endpoint to healing. And I
mhm,
think that probably is one of the most freeing things
mhm,
when you understand that you're still going to have those days where you are riding the waves of emotions where you're the trauma that you experienced, you're going to be triggered. But in the place of healing, after you've done the work
mhm,
and you know, okay, this this trigger is coming. I know how to handle this.
Mm-hmm.
I know that I'm not going to sit and wallow in this. I'm not going to let myself be taken back to that place because now I have tools. Now I understand that I can speak something different about myself, about the situation. I am not the brokenness of that situation that this trauma is trying to bring back to me. I've been there, done that. I've done the work to heal from it.
Mm-hmm.
So then you're free from the bondage of the trigger. The trigger's still going to be there. The emotions are still going to be there. Emotions are a good thing
Mm-hmm.
because they tell us something. So when we get to that place where we're angry or we're sad or we're fearful, all of those things, all of those emotions are there to inform us. That lets us know, okay, I got to go a little deeper in this healing.
Mm-hmm.
God, what are you trying to show me?
Mm-hmm.
On the path of healing, it's knowing that you have people because now, like I said, with the gates, you've allowed God to bring the right people to you. So when you get to that place where you are feeling low and you're feeling like the depression is coming and you just want to curl up in your bed and just sit there and wallow, God has sent people who have discernment enough to hear him, who will call and say, okay, what's going on with you? So when you're on that healing journey, you now have resources, you have tools, you have people, and you are not alone. So it's not a destination.
Mm-mm.
It's an ongoing journey, but it's an
Mm-hmm.
ongoing journey, like you said, where you're not alone.
Mm-hmm.
And there may be times when God has you in a place of solitude. If you find yourself in a place where the people you always call on, who always answer, and who are always coming through for you, you get to a place where you pick up the phone and they're too busy right now, or they don't answer, or they don't come when you call.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a sign that those people don't love you and that those people don't care. It's a sign that God is calling you to him because he needs time with you. There's some one-on-one work that he wants to do with you. So he's got to remove everything. He's got to remove every piece of comfort that you go to instead of going to him to remind you, I am the beginning point.
Mm-hmm.
This relationship needs to be strong because if this relationship is strengthened, then you are strengthened and you can handle whatever you're going through, even if no one else is around because I'm here.
Mm.
So it's
Absolutely.
understanding all of those parts of your journey when you get to that healing place and embrace that healing journey.
Absolutely. I totally agree. I agree. It's not the final destination. I always say when you add that ing, it's a
Mhm.
continual state. So it's
Yes.
to me, it's the continual state of being prepared to do life
Yes.
with imperfect people,
Mhm.
because um, you're always going to need some state of healing,
Yes.
because we are amongst imperfect people who are going
Mhm.
to hurt you, whether intentionally or unintentionally. So you are equipped with the strategies to
Mhm.
handle that, as long as you submit to the process, and
Yes.
like we mentioned before, you submit to the guidance and the direction of the Holy Spirit, and you allow him to lead you and guide you. And like you said, if you are faced with that again or with something different,
Mhm.
you know what to do.
Yeah.
Like I know what to do. I know how to go into my secret place and grab my journal and my pen and go into God's presence and do what I need to do. To process that thing and to work some things out until when I'm triggered, until I do what I need to do, because my triggers are my responsibilities. It's nobody's
Yes.
job to walk on eggshells around me.
Mhm.
um that's we don't the world doesn't have to submit to my triggers.
Right.
So it's my job to heal thyself. We always say, physician, heal thyself, but yet we still look for other people to do that. Now,
Mhm.
one of your mantras is to help women to reclaim their joy and their confidence. So, how do you personally maintain your joy and your confidence after trauma, especially when those old wounds try to resurface? Because we know they try to
They
sneak back
do.
in.
They do. Yes. I'm at a place now in my life where my joy is non-negotiable.
Mm,
So even when trouble comes, even when, financial difficulties come and um, the feelings of self-doubt and all of that come, I'm grounded in the knowledge that I am loved by God. Romans 8:38 and 39 is my healing scripture that basically says that there is nothing in all of earth, in heaven or hell, there is nothing that can separate us from the love of God. So there is nothing in my past, there is nothing that I'm doing right now, there's nothing in my future that will ever separate me from his love. And so as long as I'm loved by him, then I know who I am. So my joy is found in making sure that I stay grounded in that truth. My joy is found in making sure that I'm present for my family, making sure that I'm present for my friends, and making sure I'm present for myself when I just need to be alone. It's understanding that life is not always going to be easy. Life is not always going to be good. There are going to be moments where I am sad and I am hurting. May is a tough month for me because
mhm,
May is the month that I lost my grandfather. So when the month comes in, I kind of get back to that place where I relive the build up to him being gone. And then my grandmother and my father-in-law, their birthdays on the same day in May, and they're both passed. All of those, so those were three major people in my life. So May is hard for me,
mm,
but I know that, and I know that I think that's why God has me release things in May, so that
mhm,
my creativity is there, because creativity, doing something creative with my hands, or something that serves other people, all of those things bring me joy. And so as long as I'm doing that, then I can stay in that place of joy. Joy is a choice that we get to make every day. And so no, I'm not going to be happy every day, but I'm going to be joyful every day. You can be joyful. Joy is not predicated by your circumstances.
mhm,
It's defined by the knowledge of who you are in God, the knowledge that no matter what I'm going through, God is my provider. He's in it with me. So one way or the other, I'm coming out of this thing and it's going to work for my good. And then the confidence, um, hmm, I've learned to be okay with me. I've learned to stop picking myself apart.
mm,
And I've learned to start trusting my voice. And that's one of the things that I think more of us need to do who have experienced trauma, is to learn to trust your own voice and your own instincts. And be confident in the fact that that God is with you. And when he tells you something, I used to question, like, if I heard the voice of God, like, clearly. And so I would, second guess everything. And Lord, send me a sign. Okay, send me another one. Um, but all of those things. But being confident in the fact that God has put something in you that only you can birth into the earth. And it doesn't have to be something big. It could just be serving your family and raising up amazing children. It could be serving in your ministry and making sure that everyone who walks through the door feels loved. Anything that's in service of others is a part of your purpose.
mhm,
So be confident that there is purpose for you, that there is beauty in you. You may not like everything that you see. Of course, I would love to get rid of this perimenopause belly,
mm,
but And I know some of that is the decisions that I make, but I'm okay. I'm at a place where I'm okay with the decisions I make. I will put a little shaper on it just so I can have my ice cream, whatever it is. But we tend to pick ourselves apart. We tend to look at ourselves and look at all the flaws. Look at yourself and point out the beautiful things about you and speak those things out loud.
Mm-hmm.
People that know me know I love to give homework. So if so if you are a person that has difficulty accepting your body as it is and loving yourself, I wrote a letter to my body.
Mm.
Thank you for everything because I've carried four children that I've birthed into the world. It has gotten me through everything that I've been through. It has carried the weight of the trauma, and your body is going to be with you forever. So you might as well love it.
Yeah.
So be comfortable with who you are physically, mentally, emotionally. Get really comfortable being who you are, knowing
Mm-hmm.
that there is no flaw in you. There is no flaw in the design of you. God created you just as He needed you to be. That's
Mm-hmm.
where you can ground your confidence.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. For me, definitely choose joy. And that's one of the reasons why I journal so much, because I'm with you. Every day is not going to be a good day.
Mhm,
And I journal so that on those not so good days, I can go back and
mhm.
read some good stuff.
Yes.
I can pick up those journals and I can go back and read some things, because May is not a good month for me either. May is my mother's birthday and my mom passed away. So May is always where I am sitting back and I am thinking about and reminiscing about my mom and things I wish I could tell her and wish I could, and things like that. And sometimes I actually do tell her, I might write a letter to her, or
Mhm.
something like that, and just sit and talk about it and things like that, because sometimes you just need to embrace those feelings. So
Yes.
I might journal through some things. I might go back and read some journals. I have different journals for different things, go back and read some prophecies that I've written, some goals that I've accomplished, some affirmations that I've written to myself or about, some of the goals. I might just go do some things like that. And in regards to my confidence, I always make sure that I do something that I love, so
Mhm.
that, as you mentioned, you can celebrate yourself on those. And then also, like you mentioned, embracing yourself, flaws and all. Right now, I'm on this health journey, of trying to be consistent with my weight loss journey, and learning to embrace that as well. Love my body as I pursue changing my body,
Yes.
and learning to get rid of the old as you embrace the new. Sometimes one thing that I was thinking about is how we hold on to the past stuff,
Mhm.
like old clothes that we can't fit no more. I ain't buying nothing
Yes.
new. I'm gonna keep that stuff until I can fit
Mhm.
back in it. Well, sometimes that can add to your depression, because you're
Yes.
mad because you can't fit back in it. Well, and God was like, let it go. Just get rid of it. You got too much stuff in the closet anyway. And then when you do lose it, you're going to want something new. It might be outdated. You might not want to wear it.
Right.
So just let it go, and then you might find joy in shopping for new stuff again. You never
Mhm.
know. So sometimes we just need to let stuff go, to embrace what we have ahead, for us.
Yes.
So I'm just gonna let it go and just look
Mhm.
forward to what's coming ahead anyway. So and then also just allowing the new beginning to be the new beginning for everything. You know,
Mhm.
so what do you think are some signs that someone might be slipping back into that survival mode? even after they've had that season of breakthrough.
Falling back into old habits. So if you used to withdraw from people,
Mm-hmm.
getting back to that place where you feel like it's just you and you can't count on anybody and you can't depend on anybody. So you're starting to hold everything in.
Mm-hmm.
That's a major sign.
Mm-hmm.
It's when you pull away because the enemy likes to separate us from our community. Because if he can separate us from our community, if he can start having us pull back on our time with God, if we start to pray less or we start to read our word less, if we
Mm-hmm.
spend less time in devotion, all of those things break down those barriers that we've built up to keep the enemy out. And so if he can isolate us,
Mm-hmm.
then he can start to whisper, and his whisper becomes louder than the voice of God. And it sets us back into that broken place.
Mm-hmm.
So if you feel yourself pulling back from things and from people who you commonly are in contact with and things that bring you joy, that is a major sign that you're heading back into survival mode.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're trying to figure everything out on your own, if you are, I know that there, a lot of times people who are entrepreneurs um, have businesses or side hustles, things like that, and something comes up and there's a financial strain, and it's like, okay, I gotta figure this out quickly. So they do something that's outside of what they know to be true for them, outside of their character. It's outside of the purpose that God has called them to. They just kind of throw products out there at the wall and things like that. Um, or people who, start to, you may start pawning stuff, whatever it is, desperate actions. If
Mm-hmm.
your actions are motivated by desperation because you feel like you have got to figure it out, then that's another sign, because then you're starting to lean on yourself and your own understanding, and you're
Mm-hmm.
not walking in that faith journey. And survivor mode is a slippery slope.
Mm-hmm.
If you find yourself in a place where you are too comfortable,
Mm-hmm.
where and we get comfortable in chaos. For me, I know a big part of my journey of overcoming was realizing that I don't have to that chaos doesn't have to be my lifestyle. Like, things can come with ease and life can be easy, and that doesn't mean that I'm not doing enough. It doesn't mean that I'm not operating in purpose. If we find ourselves striving instead of just being, all of that, all of those are signs that we're in that place of feeling like we have to survive. Thriving and overcoming comes with ease and flow. So if you feel like you are forcing anything, if you're forcing relationships, if you're um forcing business decisions, whatever it is, if you feel like you're forcing things in your life, then you're probably moving back to that place of survival, of I
Mm-hmm.
can only depend on me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
going to say the same thing because sometimes when we are resistant to change,
Hmm.
that can force us back into survival mode because sometimes after we've healed and we've been through a lot, we can feel like everything should come with ease, you know, and so we can feel like we shouldn't have to put forth too much effort.
Yeah.
Like
You're gonna have to work,
you got to
but it's not
work,
gonna be
you know.
hard work.
It's going to
Yeah.
be hard work. Yeah, no.
Yeah. I mean,
Like
it's not going to be work that stresses you and that
right,
makes you
right.
feel less than.
Mhm. Mhm.
But you're gonna have to work.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And also and also if you find yourself always cutting people off, you shouldn't always be cutting people off. You shouldn't
No.
always be start to identify and measure people by patterns, not every
Yes.
simple mistake.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I mentioned earlier, people are human,
Yes.
and give people grace to make mistakes, but don't ignore patterns, right?
Right.
So definitely address patterns and establish boundaries, but give them grace to make
Mm-hmm.
mistakes. So I know we've been having such a wonderful conversation. But let's talk about the overcomer mindset. What does that
Mhm.
mean to you, and how can someone cultivate it daily?
So the overcomer's mindset is basically what we've been talking about. It's understanding that healing is an ongoing journey.
Mm-hmm.
It's understanding that you're not doing life alone. It's understanding that no matter what comes, that you have the tools to get through it, that you don't get stuck in your circumstances and your situations. The overcomer's mindset is a mindset of freedom.
Mm.
It's freedom to just be who you are and know that you don't have to work your way into worthiness. You don't have to work your way into being accepted and loved. You just accept and embrace who you are, love yourself, and the love will be drawn to you.
Mm-hmm.
Let God lead and guide you. The overcomer's mindset is not I have to figure it out. It is God, I trust you. So whatever you're taking me through, show me what I need to do and let's do it. You stop questioning yourself and you are confident in the fact that you have the authority in your life. So you get to make decisions of who's in your life and who's not. And
Mm-hmm.
you get to make decisions of how you proceed in every area of your life. You trust your decision making, you trust your ability to live a peaceful life, to create the life that you want. The overcomer's mindset is understanding that you get to decide how you want your life to flow.
Mm.
You're not bound by anybody else's expectations. You are not bound by anybody else's limitations.
Mm.
You have overcome everything that you have been through up until this point in your life. So there is no reason to think that you can't overcome anything that comes.
Mm.
So it's knowing that you have everything in you to create abundance in your life, to create wealth in your life, to create peace and joy because God is in you and God is with you. So you're not doing this life alone.
Mm. I love that. I love that it's it's allowing God to redirect you. When I think about
Yes.
the overcomer's mindset, I think about when when God encountered the fisherman. Who was the fisherman? I think was it Matthew was the fisherman? No, not Matthew. Um
I want to say Peter, but I feel like
I want to say Peter too, but when he encountered him on the boat and he had been fishing all night and he told him to cast his nets to the other side, it is you taking that resilience, that persistence, that tenacity, that hard work, that determination, that all of that, and God teaching you how to use it correctly. you
yes,
know
yes,
um and for in the right way, for the kingdom, how you can um it's you're not defined by man. Now I am who God says I am.
yes.
You can't define me, so you can't demean me. You can't
Hmm.
you can't do anything to me. Now I belong to God. I live for God. I live for God. I die. You
Yes.
can no longer hurt me because I belong to God now, so there's no longer a ceiling now.
Mm-mm.
I am in God. So it's like I have a new meaning, I am, for lack of a better term, I am now untouchable. That
Yes.
is the overcomer's mindset, really, is because you might can shake me. Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
might shake, I might bend, but you can no longer break me.
Mm-mm.
I might bend a little, I might
Yeah.
fall to my knees,
Might
but you
fall, but
best
I'm gonna bounce
believe
back. Mm-hmm.
I'm getting up. I'm going
Yes.
to get up. You best
Yes.
believe I'm going to get up. You know, um, and like the Bible says, I might fall 1,000 times, but I'm getting up.
Yes.
Mhm. I'm getting up. As long as I'm breathing, I'm getting up. So that's what I think about the overcomer's mindset. So, how can we help someone stay anchored in their healing and move forward?
First of all, go back to the steps, acknowledge where you are.
Mhm.
And that's not a one-time thing. It might be a daily thing for a while.
Mhm.
Acknowledging where you are emotionally, where you are spiritually. Start with understanding where you are, because if you know where you are, then you know the steps that you need to take to move forward. And let go of anything that's holding you back.
Mhm.
If you're holding on to guilt, if you're holding on to shame, if you're holding on to regret, whatever it is, let it go. And as you are, I told you I call you the queen of journaling. But write it down. I am a big advocate of writing when you can't speak the words,
Mhm.
because sometimes the words don't flow when you're trying to speak them. Because you're filtering yourself.
Mhm.
Writing is unfiltered. You kind of
Yes.
just lose yourself in it. So, like you said, have the journal so that you have the reminders, but then also speak differently about yourself.
Mhm.
Don't speak to what you're currently in. When God calls us and he sees us and he speaks to us, he is speaking to the perfected work in us, to the finished design that he created. So we have to speak to ourselves like that. We have to call ourselves healed. We have to call ourselves confident. We have to call ourselves worthy. Speak those things, because that's how God sees us and that's how God calls us.
Mhm.
So change the way you speak about yourself. Change the way that you show up in your life. Don't allow anyone to speak negatively about you. Create boundaries that enforce your healing.
Mm.
So that way, if somebody impedes on that boundary, you know how to proceed.
Mm.
But you get to decide. That's the thing that is so freeing about the overcomer's mindset and that place of healing, is that you get to decide what your life looks like. You get to decide who is allowed access to you.
Mhm.
And that is so freeing, is that I don't have to be bound by what others want and what others think. I get to decide. So take back that authority. If you've given it away, take it back and speak from that place of authority. Act from that place of authority and maintain your connection with God, most importantly, because that is your foundation and that is how you are defined, not by what anybody else says, but what God says.
Listen, I'm gonna need you to stop stealing my script. Listen, I'm like, pick up your pen, ma'am, pick up your pen and start writing. Oftentimes, when you first begin your healing journey, you don't have the strength, or the courage to say
Mhm.
the things that your heart needs to speak. to
Mm-hmm.
begin or even to move forward. That's why, if you've ever been to my website, the first thing I say, I call my email community, I call my group pen warriors, because my pen is a sword. My pen is a weapon. With this pen, I fight for my healing,
Mm-hmm.
my emotional well being. I fight because my pen is one thing about the power of the pen is that it is honest. I
Mm-hmm.
remember when I first started writing and I first started coaching, one of the things that the Holy Spirit would have me to do is I would randomly inbox people that I would encounter and engage with online, and I would just inbox them and say, "Why did you put that? Why did you put down your pen?" And they would be like, "What? But," and and I would just start talking to them, and they would be like, "Oh my God, I'm gonna need you to get out my inbox."
Right?
you know,
Like, why are you
and
in my business?
it would be just stuff like that. And I was be like, God said he waited on you, or something
Mhm.
like that. And it's because I had to learn that my pen would give my heart an outlet that it so needed,
Mhm.
and it had the power to, and it allowed my heart to voice things that was deeply embedded in my subconscious, and it needed
Yeah.
an outlet. And eventually, what you were afraid to say in that journal, eventually you will get the courage to say it out your mouth, and it's going
Yes.
to come out. And when it begins to come out your mouth, it will change your life, and it will
Mhm.
begin to order your steps. And when it starts ordering your steps, it will change your life. That
Yes.
is the process. That's it. The journal itself, it might not, it's going to take a minute. It's a process.
Mhm.
There's things that you have to do. You just can't just write your way and I'm going to be healed. You got to
Right.
write it, you got to speak it, you got to do it. Right?
Yes.
There's steps, right? So, but you have to begin the process. And if you stay anchored and you keep moving forward, you will get there. But it begins, you have to start somewhere. And we have to
Mhm.
stop being afraid to get started. It's always one step at a time. God never shows you the end of the thing. He always gives you one step at a time.
He don't
It's
even show you
always,
the middle sometimes.
he never. If he had told me long time ago what I was, what, I'd be like, "That's all right, God. I'm
Mhm.
good. I'm good. I'm good. We're
Yeah.
gonna be all
Mhm.
right." but but because he took me one step at a time, I do this. Okay, you done? Now do this. Okay, you done with that? Now do this. Then I look back, what, God, that was kind of all right. All right, let's do one. Let's do step two now. And
Mhm.
it took you, and then because some of us, what I really had to understand is my trauma wouldn't allow me to know steps one, two, and three in advance.
Right.
I wouldn't have been
Mhm.
able to handle it.
Mm-mm.
Real talk. We can't
Nope.
handle knowing one through five.
Mm-mm.
We can't handle it.
Because who we are at step 1 is a different person than we are at step 5.
Say
And
say
so
it
if
again.
God gives us
Repeat
step
that.
5 revelation at step 1 confidence, we're not going to start. We have to build up to who we are at that step 5. So God's like, "Nah, mm-mm, you're going to get just enough to do what I need you to do and show me that you trust me, and then we
Mm-hmm.
can move on."
That part. Now we done already gave them everything we needed for encouragement, but um, what's your one word that you're gonna leave the people with? One word.
Mm. Ooh, that's good. Hold on now. Mm. Oh, there's so many. Trust.
Mm.
Trust. Yeah. Trust. I think that sums it up. Trust the God in you. Trust the journey you're on. Trust your voice. Trust your abilities. Trust people. Everybody is not out to hurt you. Everybody is not going to disappoint you. Trust that God's got you and
Mm,
He's not going to let you fall. And even if you fall, He's going to pick you up.
mm, mm. That's good. My one word, believe.
Mm,
Believe that you can do it. Believe that it's possible.
mhm,
Believe that God's word will not lead you where His power and His presence cannot protect you. Believe that that like you just said, that He's going to come through for you. Believe that His word is true.
Yes.
Believe that His word will not return to Him void. You have to
Mhm.
believe that His word will it will work for you, because oftentimes we think it won't work for us. Like,
Mhm.
that's for other people, not for me. But
Right.
believe it will work for you. For you, believe it'll work for you. Well, you guys,
Mhm.
thank you so much for joining us. Now, before we leave for real, y'all, before we leave for real, LaTerra, is there anything that you have going on that you need our support on?
Yes. So I am in pre-order status for my new book. It's called Unmasked, and it is a 31-day devotional. And it is a project that the work started years ago. I wasn't ready years ago to release it. Like you said, I needed to be a step 5 version of myself, and I was at a step 1 back then. But it's a devotion for it's I don't want to say it's for women because men can there is nothing in it that's specific to women, but I know that I'm called to the heart of women who are in that place of brokenness and who are hiding, who put the mask on because their trauma made them feel like who they were wasn't good enough. And so this book is a 31-day process of removing the mask, of reintroducing yourself to yourself.
Mm,
It is a journey of freedom. And it is I'm so excited about it. I am so passionate about it because I know that there is healing in the pages because I've walked through the lessons. And so I've walked through the healing of each of the pages. And so, yeah, it is available for pre order now. The release date is May 27th. People can access it. The direct link is womanunmasked.com. And yeah, I'm very excited about releasing this project into the world.
what is it? Womanunmasked.com.
Yes.
Okay, we'll go back and put that link in the comments for you guys to click on that. And also, because it is Mental Health Awareness Month, my website is already pinned to the comments, I think. You can check out my Peace Be Unto You journal. It is a 30-day devotional called Peace Be Unto You, and it helps you to cultivate peace in your own life. It begins with a be still in the Lord section, and then a 30-day journey walking to help you to protect, pursue, and profess peace in your own life. So you can check that out at indyrice.com. And again, thank you guys for joining us. And I hope you have enjoyed this conversation as much as we have. So thank you guys so much, and good night, and have a awesome weekend.
You have been listening to Journey to Wholeness, brought to you by Indie Writes, a spiritual growth and development company that helps you write your way to success and wholeness in every area of your life. We specialize in books and journals that promote mental wellness and Christian growth. Our journals provide inspirational articles, motivational quotes, biblical guidance, writing prompts to release your feelings, fears, and thoughts, as well as strategies for success to tackle your goals and pursue your purpose. Visit our website and join our mailing list at www.indiewrites.com to learn more.